one podcast, mining the Magic the Gathering subreddits for salt. This is the Howling Salt Mine.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Well, welcome back, prospectors, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine, the podcast where we talk about salty situations and we delve into Reddit for the juiciest, premium, salty moments in the Magic the Gathering community.
Yeah, we delve into Reddit. We don't delve into the mine.
Yeah, we delve into mines sometimes too when we have our own. I'm your co-host, Mike, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tony. Say hey, Tony.
What up, what up, what up? You know, it sounds really different when you actually get it out, unlike last time. And you're like, I'm your co-host, Mike, joined by your co-host, Tony.
Yes. And we are also joined by our mythical fourth member of the pod, Nick. Say hey, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Nice.
Hey.
We don't get a full horse-related pun this time.
I couldn't think of another one that would work for that. I've been trying, but that was kind of a one and done. I'll keep an eye out. It'll have to be like some weird thing, like different language or something like that. I don't know.
Ooh, that'll be good. Yeah,
anyway.
Give us a heads up on that.
Salty situations, by the way. Name of your sex tape.
Hell yes.
That's the right kind of energy we need for this
Yeah,
episode today,
I'm
Nick.
got a I don't know, a margarita going on.
in hand.
Little salty marg going on with some extra Jose Cuervo going. So we're golden.
I love that. Tequila is always my downfall. It's always a good night and yet always a bad night on tequila for Tony.
Isn't it usually tequila combined with like hanging out with the HR department of your company that really?
Yeah, that definitely doesn't help.
So for Laura's 30th birthday, we went to a restaurant in Somerville, which I will not name, but
Laura is Nick's wife. For
Laura's my
people
wife.
that don't know.
My wife.
And we had like a group of like 10 people, and we got pictures of margarita. But what they actually served us was pictures of tequila that were tinted to be looked like margaritas.
Nice.
Oh, no.
So like literally everybody at the dinner table was like fucking smashed. We were the last people to leave the restaurant. We were like all wasted. Like Laura just threw up basically all night. I like sobered up like a few hours later, but it was sloppy. So that's what we're gonna get today. We're gonna aim for that today.
It's a typical 30th birthday party thing.
Yeah.
Because for my 30th birthday,
Oh.
so it was like a culmination of events for me. I had just graduated grad school. COVID was not gone, but it was enough over that like people were hanging out again. And it was my fucking 30th birthday. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to rent out this fucking cocktail bar.
And you were about to move away.
And I was
and you were
away.
leaving us forever.
Yeah.
And so I rented out a fucking bar it's like an ultra nerdy vibe. And it's very
It is
small.
like one of the most hipster bars in all of Somerville. It was so hipster that it was originally the group that formed it was part of another hipster bar, and they said, no, not enough. And we're going to go make our own more hipster bar that is harder to find.
Literally. And I don't know why I'm dancing around the name. It's Back Bar. And if anybody wants to go to Back Bar, you can go to Back Bar. Hashtag sponsored. So like it's a cocktail bar, right? It's not just like you can't get beer or wine. Like I don't think they even have it on the menu. So it's like everybody is drinking cocktails, and you know what? It doesn't take very many of those to get fucked up. And when you start at 6:30 and have it until midnight and nobody is fucking leaving, you realize that everybody gets fucking smashed over the course of like 6 hours.
There was also like some tasty apps and stuff, but I don't remember there being like
there wasn't
a
real
meal.
food beyond
No.
that. Yeah. So I was told like I couldn't have food that wasn't from sort of the place next door. And I was like, okay, like just keep the food coming so that nobody dies. And they did, but again, it was like all these like little bite-sized things.
A lot of Ors Devours.
Yeah. But there was some like chicken, like little crispy chicken slider things.
Oh, those were really good.
And those were fucking money, but not that many of them came out. So like all I know is like by the end of the night, I was looking around because I had sobered up because they cut us off. It was like 10 and they're like, you guys got to stop. Like there's like too much happening. There was only 40 people there, actually 39.
Just only
A few of
39
a few
people.
of these people didn't actually drink. Like I think 5 or 6, like just don't drink for their own reasons. And that's really cool. But we consumed like 240 drinks, I think, or something.
Oh.
Like, amongst those people, the people who did drink came to fucking play, and I was like,
what's the math on
fucking
that?
yes.
High. The math is high.
Yeah, it's high. It's more than it should be.
It's for
We'll put it
blockers,
that
Nick.
way.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, math is
I'm blocking. That's like almost 7 drinks a person. That's fucking crazy.
Well, really,
7,
the
like,
problem
not
is
just
that
like
that's like
7 beers.
14 drinks for one person and then like
Yeah,
2 for some
right.
other people.
Yeah, that's
Oh
like
my
7
God.
like very boozy cocktails. That's
Oh
not.
yeah.
Oh,
Hell
boy.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
nice.
so it was a wild night. It was amazing. Like a lot of my friends who I hadn't seen a little bit, who I also hadn't really seen that drunk, like everybody was fucked up. I'm not saying it was like a couple people. It was like every fucking person leaving this bar was fucked out of their minds. And it was exactly what I wanted. It was like a fucking blast. It was so fun. Somebody
Perfect send-off.
got me a wig that I wore the whole night. A really nice wig, actually. It was a great bob. And it was
I
annoying
remember that.
because my other roommate at the time, Steven, he fucking put it on and looked better than me, and so did Sam. I was mad at both of them for it. And I took it back, but that's my aside about my 30th birthday rager.
Would you say that people who normally have hair are better at wearing hair?
No. I would say no.
I mean,
Generally
Tony's starting
speaking.
with a blank slate, right?
I
So
know,
you'd
right?
think that
Exactly.
being able to put hair on top of that would be very clean.
Yeah, you think that blue bob would just like work, and it does.
It does.
do.
It do.
He pulled
Yeah,
it
for
off.
sure.
What it do,
folks.
Yugi? You know.
Well-
But speaking of, yeah, there you go. Say the thing so I can say my thing.
I don't know the segue here. Well,
It's literally margaritas and salt. Like,
yeah, right.
Speaking of salt on your rim,
Speaking
Oh,
of
God.
speaking of having just appetizers and not having full meals, appetizers are usually pretty salty.
oh,
So
fucking
why don't we
seamless.
why don't we get talking about some salt?
But Mike, what's salt, baby?
Well, Tony, I'm so glad that you have asked me. Salt is, well, let's say it's frustrations in the game. It is when someone at your birthday party has a couple too many drinks and maybe
It's when somebody at your birthday party has too many drinks, and you were just given a Sazerac, the best Sazerac you've ever had in your life, and you're sipping on it, and so a bunch of other people start ordering Sazeracs, and then one person takes the Sazerac and throws it back like a shot, and then you get cut off for the rest of the night. Your whole party.
yeah,
That
That's salty.
makes you salty.
that's
But
salt.
at the same time, you look around and you're like, you know what? It's a good thing you stopped us, because 2 hours later we're still here and we're all fucked out of our minds. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what salt is.
Salt is also when your friends delay the start for your game by like 2 hours and then decide that since your planeswalkers are a visible threat on the board that they need to attack them, and then you just decide to leave rather than deal with all that bullshit.
I don't know. That sounds pretty normal.
Oh, does it? Yeah, that's yet another
A little inside baseball on that one.
Yeah,
Some
fresh
salt
off the
from
cart.
mine.
fresh out of the mines
Fresh off
on
the
that
cart.
one.
Fresh off the cart.
Just 2 days old, 2 days old salt on that one.
Yeah, love it. Well, shall we get into it then?
Less.
Alrighty, boys. Our first post here comes from, that place we know and love on Reddit. And it comes from Satchel Gizmo 77. If you see Satchel Gizmo 77 on the Reddits on the internets, give him an upvote. You know the drill. Spread that goodwill. And the post goes: I went to my LGS for Commander Night the other night, and there was one particular guy who seemed to get overly salty about my decks and card choices. I really felt like his objections were off base, especially since in 5 games I won once. First game, which was the only one I won, came down to me and said guy. He was playing an Anzai Tyrant of Gyre straight deck. He had built an insane board out of Scoot Swarm copies, as well as a large number of other creatures and tokens. He alpha striked the board after playing Craterhoof Behemoth. I was playing Brina the Demagogue and had a few Ghostly Prison type effects out. He essentially tapped out to swing a few creatures at me. Why he didn't just pay for one, I don't know. One creature was hitting for hundreds of damage. I played Ink Shield, which he then responded by attempting to cast Fierce Guardianship. I was able to cast Mana Tithe and take him out with my 800 tokens on the crackback. He went from seeming really smug to obviously annoyed. For the next 4 games, he complained about almost everything I did. He tried to tell me that Reconnaissance didn't allow me to untap after damage, then complained about how unfair the card was after I proved it does work that way. He told me I was wrong for constantly recurring Spore Frog in my green Marin Clan of Nell Toth deck.
Nice. Turbo Fog.
He literally called me an asshole player because I had Grave Pact, Teysa Karlov, Altar of Dementia, and Drivnod Carnage Dominus out in my Teysa deck. Last game we played, I was able to cast Aura Shards in my Riz the Redeem deck on turn 3. He was playing a heavily optimized Urza Chief Artificer deck. He got super irate. He was all but yelling at me because I had been playing Fun Police all night. He told me that having Aura Shards in a mass token deck was against the spirit of the format.
Ooh, the spirit.
Bringing it back. I had enough of his BS, so I told him he was full of shite, and there was nothing wrong with how I played all night.
Is this a PG-13 episode?
I called him out because while I had only won the first game, he had won 2 of the next 3. He angrily grabbed his cards and left. Afterwards, I asked the other guys if I was in the wrong, but they all said I was completely fine. I've never seen anyone get so emotional about fracking Magic before.
Ooh, fracking.
A little Battlestar Galactica in this.
Interesting.
This is a good one.
Yeah. I am just surprised that they got 5 games in.
Yeah.
In a night.
That's the, I guess
that's the most surprising part.
Beggars can't be choosers, right? You want a game and Salt Boy is your only other 4th player. You're getting games.
Yeah, I suppose
it might not be good games, but yeah.
I think this is some classic Salt where it's spicy because you've got a huge swing. You're like, I'm gonna fucking crush right now, and it's gonna feel so good. They fucking pop out Ink Shield, and you say, fuck off, Fierce Guardianship, and then they Mana Tithe you, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And so you had such a huge thing, you had answers, and you still got denied, and then you lost as a result of what you were gonna do, right? And
there's one of those, right? But I think the interesting aspect of this, right, is this is you go to McDonald's and you just table up for the day, right? You're just hanging out because there's 5 games that he talked about, and maybe Op only won 1 in 5, but the player who's being discussed here was salty all 5 of them, so they're just pounding down fries just for the day, just oh, more salt, please.
But I guess part of my thought there was that they had all that happen in the first game, and then they just let it linger. They didn't let it go and start a new game fresh. They're they just had in their mind, I'm going to be mad at everything this fucking player does for every single game, It's just,
who does that? Who kind of gets salty and holds grudges between games? Who?
No one does that. Talking with right now.
nobody in our pod gets grudgy and holds grudges across games or anything, right? That's not a thing people do.
I do say though, we're definitely susceptible to the odd grudge here and there, but even at our grudgiest, I don't know that we go past one additional game of grudge very often.
Fair.
It's almost always it's almost always kind of a joke too. It's okay, turn 1, turn 2, I'm sending 1 damage at someone. It's going at Tony because last game, but it's not 5 turns later, Tony plays a card like Aura Shards, and I'm that's crazy that you're playing that, and you're an awful person, and you're playing Table Police all game.
How dare you play a powerful payoff effect for Selesnya tokens in your Selesnya token deck?
Yeah.
Why would you do such a thing?
There is something about a blue player too getting their like getting so riled up by getting their spell countered. Like they
Yeah.
literally
And
just
calling the
played
other
a
player
free
fun police too.
they just played a free Fierce Guardianship, like a free counter spell, and then lose because they couldn't pay 1 mana to a mana tithe in white. That's amazing. I love that.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? They cast it for free, so
Mhm.
they didn't have the mana.
I
The way the cookie crumbles.
I feel like that's such a rare moment in Magic when white says fuck you to blue. I feel like it doesn't happen frequently, and I enjoy it
Yeah.
immensely.
I feel like it is happening more frequently lately, though. Like, I mean, Mana Tithe is an older card, but there's definitely other like more modern cards that
Mhm.
are fuck you.
The Lord of the
White.
Rings set has a white counterspell coming up in it. I forget what it's
does it?
called, but it's not quite a counter, but I think it puts it on top or something like that.
I mean,
sounds
red
like a
got
counter to
Tybalt's
me.
trickery, so
Right. But that's just Chaos Warp on the stack, essentially.
sure. But even Chaos Warp, like a lot of people are unhappy that even Chaos Warp exists because they believe it's a color pie break.
Mm,
I don't think that, but I know people that do.
You all heard it here. Nick thinks it's a pie break. Don't run Chaos Warp.
Hot
It's
takes,
trash.
get your hot takes here.
What do you guys think about the invocation of the spirit of the format here?
I mean, it's like this is my point. It's like it's classic McDonald's like table salt, right? Like, you know, it checks all the boxes. They, you know, let's play in an LGS with some rando who gets pissed at people, and the spirit of the format. You're policing us. You're the fun police. I don't know. This is classic. At this point, this is a tried and true salty story here.
A recipe, even.
Yeah, a recipe. It's the secret KFC recipe.
Yeah. It's also so like cringy when you're like,
Yeah, that's very true.
you're going against the spirit of the format, bro. Like, please, bro, let me play my cards, bro. Like,
Please,
come
bro,
on.
let me win, bro. Please, why aren't you just letting me win?
Yeah, and
It's
like,
like,
'cause that's the other thing. He won the games. He won multiple games. Like, why are you crying? Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that I love when an Orchard's down on the table, because the only time you see an Orchard's down on the table is when it's a deck that's gonna fucking use it. You know,
Right.
Right.
I'm not slotting that into like another deck that doesn't have tokens popping out all the time. Like, so
He's the Bobby Newport of Commander players. Just let me
Yeah.
win. Why aren't you letting me win? Please, just let me win. Come on.
and I feel like fucking Nick, I've played against your Marin deck like way back in the day, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you loop Sport Frog or similar type effects as well. Like it's just like
definitely,
it's the thing
yeah.
you do in those decks. Like
Right.
these
I
aren't
mean,
like that oppressive or obnoxious, you know?
Right. No, Marin, I mean, like it's a graveyard value engine deck, right? You're trying to loop pieces to, you know, keep people in check and win the game.
Yeah.
I don't think looping Spore Frog, like, come on, like there's much worse things that you can loop that are not Spore Frog. Like you could be looping like Ravenous Chupacabra.
Oh my
Right?
god.
Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, you prevented my combat. You wouldn't let me win. Come on, let me win. That's kind of the takeaway here, I think.
It is true, though. I think that is one thing that stands out a little bit about this post is we often see like salty losers, but it's not super common that we see people that are winning and salty all the
Yeah.
time too.
A salty wiener, as you say.
Salty wiener. Oh boy.
Well, and it's interesting too, right? Because it seems like at least in a few of these games, this player still won in spite of it. And like to some extent, wouldn't you feel better if you won around the hard counter, right? Like,
Mhm.
doesn't that like it's like, oh, I did the more skillful, more intelligent thing and still managed, you know, like they played to their outs and I still won, right? Like rather than like, no, just roll over and die so I can win, please. Like that's just kind of lame. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
The only other thing I was thinking of too a little bit is at the end, he's like, I asked the other two guys if I was in the wrong, but they said it was completely fine. Do you ever think there's a world in which maybe we're hearing one side of it and it like, because I feel like it's kind of hard when somebody asks you to your face, like after something like that, somebody leaves and they're crazy. Like, was I in the wrong? I feel like most people are like, nah, you were good, you know, like, because I wouldn't want to get into that right then and there if it's actually
Someone
like,
is
yeah, I
on
think you
your
suck.
side. Someone else is not.
Yeah, literally. The way this is written, I definitely think that it is like this
Yeah.
clown who left. But
I mean, like, well, I mean, again, right? Like, I don't know if it was just desperation or whatever, but like they played 5 games. That's a lot
It's so many
of
games.
Commander. And like, even if the games were quick, I mean, you're still looking at like 3 or 4 plus hours of Commander, probably.
Let's say you guys didn't see the timestamp. They were there for 12 hours, so that's how they got the 5 games in. Like,
really?
no.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that was in the post was the.
No, that'd be nuts though. They were like,
anyway.
we're on our 12th hour of Commander when we like fucking. Oh my god, I would get up and leave then too. Like,
Yeah, fair. I do agree with you, Tony, though. There is something interesting about like the other players at the table and what their stance is, because you'd kind of hope like if one person at the table is being super crusty the whole time during multiple games, other people would say,
as you would
I was about to say,
yeah,
do
you
have a
might
term for
you
that?
might say it. I wouldn't, but you might say that. You'd kind of expect like if someone's like, oh, Aura Shards is against the spirit of the format, for other people to say, well, it's also kind of a fair piece of what people do in this format. So maybe it's not. You'd expect at least one other person to kind of chime in, maybe.
Maybe
or
they
hope.
did though. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they
like
did.
we're only just hearing the story between the two people.
It's true.
True life. Well, what do we think about the salt rating here?
Like I said, the KFC secret recipe, all the classic fixings of a salty story.
Is KFC classic?
Yeah, KFC is definitely classic.
Cool. Just checking.
I don't put KFC on my top classics.
It's not my top.
Yeah, it's not in the classics.
Well, I mean, you're wrong, but it's okay.
I think this is a pretty high salt. I struggle to give it even like a full half shaker, though, honestly, because, again, they got all of these games in. It was tolerable enough that they kept going for it. So it's not truly like top tier salt, but it is something to be aware of when you're sitting down to games in other nights. Maybe keep an eye out for the player, or just like check in with them about what kind of decks they do enjoy playing against. Because if their whole shtick is being kind of salty about things, that's fine. But, there has to be some stuff that they're okay with playing against.
I don't know. I mean, my read of that was the things they are okay against playing against are the things that they can win against. And that was kind of the takeaway. And if you like prevent them from winning,
it's not even the things that they can win against, though, because they won against these things and they were still salty about it. So there's got to be something. There's got to be something about those moments that the player could identify. I would hope.
I would say, yeah, but right, like how much of your enjoyment is worth like appeasing the
absolutely
grumpy player? And like,
yeah, none.
I would say fuck them,
none.
Straight fuck them.
Yeah, I guess I'm really recommending that less as like and then go play the deck that doesn't make them salty, and more of like a force that player to have a moment of introspection of like,
fair.
Oh, there is no deck that I'm okay playing against. Maybe I need to broaden my horizons of like what's an acceptable thing to resolve.
Yeah, fair.
It's also like when you're out in the wild, expect to see the expected. Like if someone's playing Marin, know that it's gonna do Marin things. If someone's gonna play Teysa Karlov, know it's gonna do Teysa Karlov things. Like,
or Reese the Redeemed playing token strategies that are perfectly normal for a token deck.
Yeah. I feel like this person was doing okay until they got real aggressive in the last game, or like basically yelling at the poor OP here, and then just fucking up and left. Yeah, like calm down. Go get. You know what? Maybe they went to go get some KFC. Maybe that's what happened.
Who gets up and leaves after a salty game?
Who would do that?
Who just nopes out of it after they get salty? Who just leaves? Come on, who would do that? Spoilers, I did that. I was very salty.
The real question is, did they honorably scoop at sorcery speed?
Ooh, that's
I doubt
it. I did keep my honor in that regard. And I will say I did not kind of spout off in the chat. I was just like, well, I'm out. Bye.
No, in fact, it was such a cold departure that we were all like, whoa.
Yeah, you left. We were just like, oh, whip.
It was actually for the listener, it was okay, I scoop. Bye, guys. Disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very deep internalized salt at that point.
Well, should we read another one?
Let's do it.
All right. So I've got one here for us.
Hang on, before you start that, I do want to commend myself for reading much better this time than the first time I read those.
You said you read bad, but I did appreciate the like actorial like vocalizations as you were reading it.
That's
There's
what's
like
up,
a nice
baby.
like teacher voice going on. Like
Nick, we'll have to send you the unedited version because it literally made me question if Tony can read.
I was feeling it's just gonna have to be a straight grains that goes out to all
we
the
do have to
patrons.
put it up as a straight grain. So this next post comes to us from a patron, Ace Horizon.
Hey,
And the title of this post is Fuck Politics. Strong feelings about politics. I too think that things are too political. So the post goes, hello, Salt Lords. I had previously played with a player that we are going to call M. It was me and a friend of mine in the usual LGS. We were then joined by two players who seemed to know each other, but ended up that they were only looking for a pod and didn't know each other. Okay. It was M and another guy that was very new and didn't have experience playing at an LGS. He had a precon, so we decided to power down. My friend and I got a precon that we always have on us for these occasions, but M said that he was going to use a deck that he made but had a low power level. We all said okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, uh-oh. And we started playing. M's commander was Ruxa, Patient Professor. He then played a land that was an old art and foiled. I was like, okay, but we continued. He then played Nykthos and Emerald Medallion. I then realized he wasn't playing low power at all. M ended up winning a couple turns after, and my friend and I were salty as fuck. But we decided to continue playing for the sake of the new guy. Okay.
Commendable.
I changed to one of my most salt-inducing decks, which is Sephiroth of the Hidden Ways, and complete focus was on M. I killed him first, and then we helped the new guy win the game, which he was able to do with some guidance from all players. That brings me to today. I played again with M and won the first game while playing the new Urza Precon out of the box to try it out. I won by killing all players in the same turn and did not focus on M at all since I did not want to start anything. The result, I ended up losing the two following games because M's focus was on me, and he was also able to get my friends against me by using politics, which allowed him to win. He always played a Feather the Redeem deck, focused on control, and my friend used Killian, Ink Duelist, which is a mix between control and Voltron. For the first game I lost, I used Audric, Lunar Marshal, in a deck where every single card is under $1 to test it out since my friends and I are making a competition to see who makes the best one. He still went for me first and killed me first. I also lost the next game, same thing. M's focus was on me and I was making deals with my friends, and since they are good friends, did the best they could to piss me off. Nice. This then took us to me pulling my Tiamat deck for the last game, and by turn 5, I was at 10 life while the other players were at 40, 38, and 37. I was fucking pissed. Since they all focused on me and didn't do anything to each other, even though they were playing higher level decks too, and each had the same opportunity of winning. I was about to get the fuck out and tell my friends to fuck off for a while until I remember that they are good people. My closest friend saw my boiling red face and didn't kill me, even though M was complaining that I was open to being killed. I was then able to play Inferno of the Starmount, attack with him and Minion of Mighty, and play Old Gnawbone attacking, which made me create 13 treasure tokens. Then played Goldspan Dragon with mana I had left, cracked all the treasure tokens to play Obliterate, then my commander, and finally Ancient Copper Dragon, which led me to winning the game. Thanks for all you guys do. And here you have a weekly listener and a lover of the salty treasure token. Well,
Nice.
thank Ace Horizon.
That's fucking amazing.
Thanks, Ace Horizon. That is amazing. That is amazing.
Lots to unpack there. That's for
So
sure.
much to
Lots of-
unpack.
I resonate so much with the sentence that, like, they're fucking beating on me because they're good friends.
Absolutely.
I can't even tell you how many times I feel like, you know what's fucked up, and I hope Nick at least agrees with this. It is always me or Nick that is getting this kind of like clobbering. Sometimes Sam will cry and be like, "Oh, it's always me," but it's really like me or Nick. It's never Mike. We don't really beat up on Mike ever.
Oh shit! I guess
Like-
that means you guys don't like me very much.
But I feel like we definitely beat up on each other like this. And like, it's so easy once a bandwagon has started for everyone to just jump on. Like the fact that it was like all those life totals of like 40, 37, 38, and 10.
You know what, though? You know what, though? Go read that post again, because it seems like it was justified since the guy won when they let him off the hook. So, you know,
yep.
I don't know, man. Like, you kind of reap what you sow. You like, I mean, to go back to your point, Tony, right? I think part of it is the nature that, like, you and I tend to play very permanent heavy decks, which means that our board states are kind of like tell-alls of what we're trying to do. In particular, right, a Planeswalker deck, like we just talked about, like it's just out there and it's like, hey, look at the things that you can just punch, right? Or whatever the thing is, right? So like, I feel like that definitely plays into it, right? We play in terms of our kind of like, well, it's clear what Tony's trying to do, or it's clear what Nick's trying to do. Like, yeah, that makes sense. But to go back to the post, I mean, I am of two minds, right? I think like this mythical other M Metroid reference, I think that, you know, they played the game to some extent. Like, I don't know, politics is part of the game. I get being mad at it, but also like they also played this specific flavor of the game, which is like, hey, you guys want to beat up your friend, right? Like that's chef's kiss on that one. Like,
yeah,
man, if I'm in like a 3-player pod with, or like a you know, it's like me, Tony, and Sam, and a 4th player joins, is like, hey, you guys want to hit Tony a lot? Yeah. Fuck yeah, I do. Let's fucking go, baby. Like, come on. Like, yeah, I'll let you slide.
Whoever's open first that happens to.
Right. So I don't know. It's a mix. It kind of in some ways is the opposite of the previous post to some extent, because it's kind of like, oh, this is the other side of the coin. This person is getting salty because their decks are not popping off the way they want to, and lo and behold, if you let them off the hook, it kind of pops off. So
yeah,
interesting.
I mean, it's just easy and fun to beat on your friends. It's not as fun to beat on like randos. Like,
true.
If I don't know you, if Nick didn't get salty, if I didn't get salty, it wouldn't be fun beating on us either. Like the salt brings the beat.
I need to bring my stoicism, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's an interesting part to this, which is like, you know, clearly the first game I think was definitely fair, justified salt, right? Like they kind of lied about what their deck did, and maybe they just didn't have a deck that could play down. I don't know the details there, but in those cases, like I feel like some people just kind of forget the option of being like, cool, you won, we're going to continue, right? Like just continue the game. If it's a case where like they just straight up win in, you know, a single turn and wipe the board, and especially if you have a new player, it's like, okay, that's cool. We acknowledge you won. We're going to kind of finish this out for their sake, you know, to teach them the rest of the game and play it out just because we think it'll be more entertaining. I think that's a valid option to discuss at the table versus like, and like maybe to some extent that doesn't work depending where you are, right? Like if the 4th player who won can't then immediately jump into another pod, that creates some feel bads. But I don't know, if you kind of, you know, roll over everybody and have to sit there for 30 minutes while they finish out the rest of the game, it feels kind of justified. But
yeah. I did feel like it was kind of tit for tat though. Like you got us, I targeted you, then you targeted me back, and like that kept happening. Fair. It just it went downhill when like he was like, ooh, your friends will do this too.
Yeah.
That seemed like it was almost a completely different day though, if I was
I think that was a couple days. I do think I really do appreciate the slightly sweet part of this post, which is like a really careful consideration of a new player's experience. Definitely. You know, like I love seeing that. It's just the kind of the right way to do it too. Like if you have someone new that's sitting down, no matter what's going on between the other players, even if you're starting some beef with each other, you're getting into some salt, you've got a grudge, whatever it is, not letting that kind of ruin the experience of that new player is so important. And you know, this post even kind of mentions we were all able to help the new player figure out the path towards the win. Like that's awesome. That's something you can kind of settle.
Yeah, and I interpreted that as M was a part of that conversation too. So
me too. Yeah, hopefully that's true. We'll get. I know we'll get the details from Ace once the episode comes out, and he'll be like, "No, M was just salty the whole time."
When you first started reading this post, though, I don't know why, but I was envisioning like. Jets versus whoever the other people are. Like, it's M 1942 coming to the LGS. Like, everybody's snapping and approaching one another. And
Yeah.
It's a
It's like
West
an
Side
implied
Story.
double-headed giant type situation.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, that's never
Oh
good.
my god, what do we think about the Sol rating here?
I mean, it feels very similar to the first post, right? It's kind of all the classic notes of, hey, we played an LGS with a stranger. They overpowered their first deck. Then we got into a grudge match and continued on until somebody got salty and kind of raged. So I don't know. It like I said, it's of the same cloth as that first one. You know, it's that classic salt recipe. You check all the boxes and you get something salty at the end of it.
Are you just trying to get some KFC? Do we have a hashtag sponsor here in KFC?
That could be good.
Tony,
A little
stop with the
Popeyes.
sponsors.
They're gonna sue. They're gonna be like, we don't sponsor these people. We don't endorse anything they say. Tony's always swearing and saying crude things. Like, I don't want any part of paying for that.
For me, this feels like I have felt this salt, and there's an unlimited amount of salt I feel for like me as the player, but like in the rest of the pod, it's like just ecstasy. It's like pure joy. It's like you're having such a fucking good time wailing on your friend, watching them squirm. It's so bad, but so good.
Tell me how you really feel, Tony.
Yeah, I think I actually have a sort of different take than Nick on this too. Like, I think to me, the standout parts of this post are the positives of it. Like,
Fair.
It's actually kind of sweet. They're taking care of the new player. Like, even though Ace got smashed by his friends down to 10 life, he's still able to like sneak a win out. I think this is the kind of salt where like there is this like innate kind of rage about things not going your way, but at the end of the day, it seems like the games are still kind of fun. And even though the politics is maybe becoming a bit much, like it doesn't seem like it's actually detracting overall from the experience too much.
That's a good point.
So, you know, there's definitely some moments of uncomfort in there, but I think it's overall good.
Love that. Well, guys, what do you think? Should we do another one?
Let's do one last one.
Let's do
I'm
it.
literally supposed to not say that.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, Sam's gonna be so mad when he's just like, yeah, let's do another one instead of like, fuck you, no. I was all ready to be like, yeah, well, I'm gonna fucking do it anyway, but love it. Fuck you, Sam. Let's see. This comes to us from Gmail. Somebody sending in a salty story. And the post is called Drafting Salt.
Hmm.
This is a special one for Mike.
You
Hi,
love
fellas.
drafting.
Fuck, you ruined my start.
Always do.
Threw off my groove.
Throw my groove. Yeah. Hi, fellas.
I'm sorry, you threw off the Emperor's groove.
I was like trying to think of the quote and I couldn't, and then that's fine. Here we go. Hi, fellas. I want to start by saying I love your podcast. It really brightens my commute. I wanted to share a story of how, through luck and random chance, I caused a salty situation. My LGS was having its store championship. The format was Chaos Draft, with first place getting a full art promo Dark Confidant and a pack of Double Masters 2022 per win as prize support. If you are unaware, a Chaos Draft is a draft in which, instead of everyone drafting from a single set, packs from multiple different sets are drafted. Nowadays, Magic sets are designed to be drafted and have built-in themes and synergies. In Chaos Drafts, it's a lot harder to find synergies, and you often just end up with good stuff piles, as opposed to drafting a cycling deck or a +1/+1 counter deck, etc. My second match ends in a draw. My opponent and my boards both stalled out, and neither of us could push through a win before time ran out. For the prize pack, I suggested that since double master packs have 2 rares, we split the pack. We would each roll a die, and the winner got first pick from the pack. He agrees, and we roll. I win the roll. We open the pack, and the rares are a Dockside Extortionist and Bulk Rare.
Oh, no.
It just doesn't even get a name.
I, of course, take the Dockside with my pick. He's a little miffed at this point and says, I don't want anything else from that pack. You can keep it all. Fast forward to the end of the night, and I am playing the same guy in the championship round. This time, things go better than before, and each of us wins a game. We are starting the deciding game 3, and he has to mulligan to 4. He does put up a fight and plays well, but can't take himself out of the hole of starting 3 cards down. I win the match. I tell him good game, but back off after that to give him space. He is visibly upset at this point. I can't blame him. Losing out on a dockside and the Dark Confidant promo due to a bad die roll and shitty opening hands. I hope you enjoyed the story. Cheers, Daniel.
Oof.
Nice.
I did enjoy the story.
I did enjoy the story.
I appreciate the the non-commander salt too. That's always
Yeah,
good.
it is nice to mix it up. And I also I appreciate the complete omission of the other rare's name.
Just generic bulk rare.
Bulk rare.
Because he literally didn't even
It's in,
fucking
like,
know.
brackets,
He's like,
text,
some
like,
shitty bulk
I
rare.
don't fucking know. It doesn't
But I
matter.
mean, that is sort of like 90% of the packs, I feel like, right? Like, even though there's 2 rares in the packs, isn't it almost always like 1 bulk
One's
and 1
good,
maybe
one's
okay
trash.
thing? So it's like, I do think there's kind of an awareness of like when you rolled for first pick of the rare in that you're kind of rolling for the
The
value
good
of the
rare.
pack. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're kind of rolling for the pack.
Yeah.
But
I think it's
oof,
very rare that a pack will have 2 fucking mega bombs in it.
yeah.
I actually didn't know there was Dockside in Double Masters packs.
I didn't either. Maybe we should go buy a bunch.
I was just gonna be like, should I go buy a bunch of fucking packs?
Probably very expensive.
Yeah, they
You should probably
definitely
just buy, $500 worth of dockside if that's your plan.
Yeah, that's
It will
no
be
fun,
better
though.
That's
off.
not as fun. Yeah,
That's not
Okay, well, you
gambly.
can,
Fun
you can like put them
sucker.
in like some Christmas wrap and open the Card Kingdom box when it gets to you. And like, oh my god, I opened this
5
pack of
Dockside
5
extortionists.
extortionists. You could like shuffle them into like a booster box and just like, oh my god, there's just a dockside floating in this booster box. What happened?
I found a dockside in my chaff.
Yeah. Oh,
I will
man.
say, so I love limited. It's an excellent format. It's really
But
fun.
it's trash.
Nope, it ain't
Sucks.
that.
Garbage
It's not
format.
that. Nope,
Yeah, that's
none of that's
terrible.
true.
It's real bad.
Chaos drafts definitely add that element. I think the post kind of explained it well.
The
like,
trash element.
yeah, the trash element. No, of like you're not drafting kind of designed themes anymore. You're just designing solid cards and like design or like drafting good cards out of the pool rather than drafting like specific.
I feel like that's
sets.
part of what I like about drafting, though, and maybe that wasn't the case like way back, because it does feel like sets are made to draft these days.
Mhm.
And maybe you know more about this, Mike, because you've been into drafting longer. But I've grown to enjoy a draft, but a chaos draft is really not something that sounds appealing to me for that fact that it's like I want to build around some of the synergies that I know exist from the set, and like knowing the set is an advantage. Now the skill set is different of like, do you know how to pick good cards for drafts? Do you know how to pick like good removal? Do you know that a fucking 3/4 flyer for 4 is just like, a bomb? Like,
Yeah.
do you know like these like little like intricacies of it all?
I think
Or
it's
the-
a little bit more like drafting cube, honestly, but powered
kind of,
down
yeah.
cube. It's like cube, but with chaff, which is
Yeah.
not typically how people draft cube.
Yeah, or fun.
I will say that my grievance with draft has nothing to do with the actual like format. It just has to do with like all of the drafts I experienced. Here's what happens when I've gone to a draft. You get like 8 dudes at a house. Everybody picks their packs quietly. Everybody drafts for like 45 minutes quietly. No one's talking. Then everybody like splits off into pairs and plays their individual games quietly. And it's like, man, it's fucking boring. Like by the end of like, the second round, I'm like, I'm fucking done. Like, this is just like a snooze fest. And like, I also really like constructed decks. And so there is that aspect of it where like the randomness of draft does not personally appeal to me, but more so the fact that like, I don't know, drafts tend to be like very quiet, introspective gameplays because you're playing 1v1. You're drafting for yourself. You're trying to think through things, and like that just doesn't do it for me. So
I've
fuck
actually
draft.
found that I really dislike drafts in settings like that, in like personal settings when it's like friends and you're sitting
Mhm.
down and doing it. It's more entertaining to me when it is a competition and it
Yeah.
is like, oh, I'm trying to win packs.
Yep.
Because otherwise, I don't even have incentive to finish my second game. I'm with you
Yeah.
on that, Nick. I'm like, I have a shitty deck. It's bad. I don't want to play anymore. So
Right.
I'm not going to play. But if
Yeah.
at least I have packs on the line, I'm like, well, I'm going to try and beat you. Like, because I could get some like packs or a promo card or,
One of the things I have had fun with is we call it like group draft, but it's like where like one person is just on their arena account on like a TV, and it's just like 10 people hanging around like talking through the draft picks.
Now
And
that
then like
is
playing
fun.
the cards. That's
Yeah,
a lot
dude.
of fun because that's like, okay, now it's this like collaborative thing, and it's very entertaining. Everybody's like, and like you play pretty good because if you have like, you know, 6
lot of
decent
brain
Magic
players,
players
yeah.
together, all like, you know, basically doing like you know, hive minding a game or hive minding a draft, like you play pretty decent. So
That being enjoyable is basically why I streamed.
yeah,
Because
I
it
mean,
was
that
like,
makes
this
sense.
is nice. I can have my friends hang out while I draft, and
Yeah.
they'll give input and then tell me when I'm stupid.
It's
And
literally like, how
it'll
many
be good.
nights? How many nights were you like, but should we draft real quick, Mike? When we were living together,
So
and I
many.
would just like go sit in his room. I would pull a chair in.
Yeah.
I'd pull an uncomfortable, shitty, hardwood kitchen chair into his room and sit there for fucking 3 hours at like midnight so that we could do a fucking draft. I
Watsy,
loved
if
it.
you're listening, team draft. Think about it. Team draft
Mm.
at tournaments. That could be fun.
Interesting.
You have like
Interesting.
3-headed giant team draft, like where everybody's, you know, you have 3 players that are drafting a deck together.
I feel like you'd have to include timers
Yeah.
Oh,
because it would
definitely.
just like take way too fucking long. And
Yeah.
They probably include them anyway at like real tourneys, but
Anyway.
well, what do we think about the slot rating here? Do we
Well,
even
hold
talk
on.
about the post?
Yeah,
we just talked about drafting.
There's the one other thing about this that is like classic Magic Salt is just getting a bad hand, needing to go
Mhm.
down to 4. You know, people cite the randomness of their hands and stuff, and like issues with lands and unkeepable hands as one of the reasons that they can't play Magic. For a lot of people, that's sort of the make or break thing.
Those are probably the
Is-
people that can't build decks. Have they
No,
tried
but
getting
like-
In
good?
draft.
Even when you build a solid deck, you can just get these
You can still
completely
get mana
unplayable
screwed.
hands,
Yeah.
and that's just a part of the game that you kind of have to accept. It's like the built-in variance that makes the game what it is. And yeah, it partially sucks, but it is definitely a part of it. You just have to hope it doesn't show up in, you know, the last round of a tournament like it
Yeah.
happened here. So,
Especially in the last round of the tournament when you're playing the guy that got the dockside that you felt like could have been yours.
yeah, for real. For
Speaking
real.
of luck of the draft, yeah. I mean, I think I agree. I think I will say one of the aspects that I do appreciate of Magic in particular is that for the most part, up until pretty recently, I would say, like all of the RNG in Magic was constrained specifically to library shaping and like how your library is playing out. And like you shuffle your deck, that's the extent of the randomness that occurs within the game in terms of what you're drawing and what you're getting. Versus like I stopped playing Hearthstone because like Hearthstone doesn't have the land problem, right? You're getting mana consistently every turn, but Hearthstone was like, oh, let's just roll a dice and see who fucking wins the game. And then like every card they released was like randomly do this, randomly do that, randomly pull a card out of your deck. And it's like, man, like you just lose this sense of agency over your gameplay. And it becomes really like, yeah, cool. Like the dice came up for me this time and it was really cool to watch this random thing happen. And like it makes for a good replay, but I don't know. The lack of agency over the gameplay was really like disheartening. And I appreciate that Magic has like limited that to some extent. I mean, like, you know, they've introduced dice rolling, but I don't think at least in Commander, like those cards are not super popular.
Yeah. And it's usually not like a make or break dice
Right.
roll. Like
Yeah.
occasionally in limited, like when it was all of the D&D sets in limited, you could occasionally get a situation where depending on how the die rolled, you could win or not.
Right.
But even that was pretty rare, and it was more of just like could slightly alter the position rather than completely shape it.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, like non-games suck. And like it is still one of the problems of the format or formats in general with Magic is like if you are mulliganing down to like turn or cards, 4 or 5 in hand, like that sucks. Or worse. So
totally.
especially in 1v1.
But shout out to the OP here, like the best you can do in a situation is basically what this player did. You say the good game, you give them a handshake, and you give them their space because no one's going to be happy and bubbly in that moment. So you just let them deal with it however is best for them to deal with it.
For sure.
And I hope that they appreciated that too. I mean, I don't know what the follow-up was, but You didn't rub it in.
They probably were like, "Fuck you, you fucking piece of shit." Like,
Yeah, but
got my fucking cards, got my dark side, got my dark confidant.
That's fine within the moment, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, some random things that just didn't go my way occurred, and you kind of grow and look past it. Versus like your friend holding a grudge and deflecting all their stuff at you all the time.
Wouldn't know what that's like.
No, not at all.
Well, is it that time of the week?
What?
Ooh, I sure hope it's that time.
I think it is. Do you think it's that time, Nick? I think it's that time.
What are you guys talking about? I don't listen. What is this?
I don't listen.
It's the time of the week that comes every week.
Whoa, settle down, Mike. It's the time of the week that comes every week. It's the time of the week where we ask, Mike, what's the salty card?
Mike.
Yes.
Do it for Tony this time.
The salty card of the week this week.
Can you make me salty?
Nice. I can. I think.
Sweet.
Maybe not
Let's do
you,
it.
but I think I can imagine who this is going to make salty.
Okay. I'm here
The
for
salty
it.
card of the week
Blue.
this week is omniscience. So,
Interesting.
omniscience. It is
Blue,
7
blue, and 8.
It is 7 blue. So pretty close, Tony. It is
I literally thought it was like 5 blue.
It is an enchantment, and it says you may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana costs.
Simple,
elegant, even.
Is there flavor
Elegant.
text?
There is. The things I once imagined would be my greatest achievements were only the first steps towards a future I can only begin to fathom.
And what's the set number and card number on that card?
It is card 65 out of 280 from M19.
Who's the artist?
And who is the artist? Yeah, thank you.
Well, the artist on the specific one that I'm looking at
Doesn't fucking matter because
And
this
what
card
year?
is trash.
What year was the copyright?
is Jason Chan from copyright 2018
Nice. That's a
by
good-
Wizards of
good-
the Coast.
Good era.
Good
The
era.
before
Era
definitely.
times.
for
The
Magic.
before times.
Yeah, M19. I did love M19 actually. So yeah, Tony, does this card make you salty?
You know, I have the privilege of, I think, never having seen this played. And so I feel good about it right now, but I can imagine the types of decks that would have it, and they make me sad. But I actually, honestly, I've seen it the most in Arena. Would have had like a draft that was like omniscience drafts. So everybody just
starts
has
with it?
omniscience, like it's an emblem. And you get 3 cards. You draw 3 cards, and
It's
then
like
you're just trying
Pagao,
to
isn't it?
fucking win.
is
And
kind
you
of.
do a draft, and you're hoping you win on turn 1. And if you don't win on turn 1, better be on turn 2 because the other player's probably gonna do stuff. And I think it had some like weird rules where you would get like 5 colored mana a turn to pay for like activated abilities and shit. But like honestly, that format as like an omniscience draft was pretty cool. So the effect is powerful and like obviously insane. And it's almost like it's like Pagao too, right? Like these are like kind of fun, almost alternate formats of the game in which you like just get to do shit and see what happens. And I like the concept of trying to build around that. Somebody just like fucking whipping it out in a casual game, I'd probably be like, you should put that away.
No context, folks.
Yeah, exactly. And it's blue, so fuck blue. But outside of that, like this is another one of those things. Just like, why the fuck is this in blue? Why does blue have fucking everything?
Because they're the spells deck. They get to
Yeah,
cast
they're
stuff.
the knowledge. They can draw
Knowledge
the
my
cards off of
fucking
the
ass.
free cards they can cast to then get more cards and then play those cards.
But either way, it I think it doesn't make me salty because I've only seen it in different contexts that make me happy. But if I saw it in the wilds, I'd imagine being like a fucking Jin-Gitaxias deck where they're like countering everything you fucking do, or like a Memnarch deck, or like something like all these
That's a good
stupid
question.
fucking blue decks. Like,
Mike, where does this card see play? Like, what commanders is it seeing play in?
It is seeing play in Jin-Gitaxias.
fucking
It sees play.
called it.
You did. It sees play in like Wooburg piles, like
Good
Joda,
stuff,
Archmage
yeah.
Eternal,
That makes sense.
or like Joyra of the Gitu, which is
anything
like
that can like cheat it
suspending
out.
things. Yeah, I think people that are cheating it out and then also have like a ton of other things that they meant to cheat out. So like Narset,
I feel like
Enlightened
that's
Master.
not even the
type of
most
stuff.
salty play in Joyra, like frankly. Like there are way saltier plays in Joyra.
I think the thing about this that you guys may not be considering is that you're never just casting Omniscience. You cast Omniscience and then you cast an Eldrazi Titan, or you cast Omniscience
right.
and then you cast Expropriate. You're like it's always the start of the complete degenerate turn.
I get it. I mean, I get it, right? But like even in Joyra, right? Like the classic salt-inducing Joyra play is you suspend like Yokel Hops turn 3, then you suspend your Eldrazi Titan on turn 4. So like Yokel Hops hits, wipes the board, and your Eldrazi Titan drops. Like you don't need Omniscience for that, right? Like that's so like I don't know. I agree with Tony. This does not induce salt. I think I can count the times I've seen it in paper on like a single hand. I don't even remember the last time I saw it on paper. There are other effects that do similar things, like the Tameo emblem, I think comes to mind as well, which is basically just that on an emblem, which is way scarier. But obviously, like getting an emblem is more difficult to some extent. But it's scarier just because you can't get rid of it. I don't know, like a 9 mana enchantment, you kind of need stuff in your hand to continue the roll. If you cast Omniscience and pass, like you're an idiot. Like, I don't know.
Well,
like,
yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't know. Like I'm 9 mana cards need to win you the game, and Omniscience in the right deck wins you the game. So like that's not a salt-inducing thing to me. If you're like casting Omniscience and it resolves and you win, that's how it should work. Like, I don't know. I was just looking at the stats for our casual games, and our casual games typically end on turn 8, I think. Turn 8 or 9, borderline. So assuming you're not ramping and you're just playing one land a turn, like turn 9, that's the finishing spell. So if you're dumping 9 mana into a finishing spell, that seems legit. Doesn't make me salty. Like, I don't know. And again, like maybe it's just by the fact that I don't see that often. But there are way fewer or way more salty cards to me. This is very much at the bottom of the list.
Quick aside to future editor of this episode. I'm going to need you to clip out where Nick says, I agree with Tony, and send it to me as a sound clip. Hey, Mike.
I don't agree with
how
Tony.
Do you feel about Omniscience?
In any future case?
I think I like Omniscience. I think you guys are slightly underestimating its ability to cause salt, but I also don't see it all the time. So I think
you said that I envisioned
that's really like
you underestimate my power.
How many decks is it in, Stats Boy?
It is in 3% of decks. So it's not super common. It is significantly less common than a lot of the other blue things.
Here's the real question: Where does it sit on the list?
That is the real question. Where do you guys think it sits?
But I mean, like this just feels like fringe of fringe, right? Like you have to be in a blue deck. You have to be in a deck that can win off of casting it. Theoretically, any deck can win off Omniscience, but you do have to kind of be set up to do it, right? Like you have to have a good hand or a way to like continuously draw cards after casting Omniscience because you're casting everything. And the other spells you're casting do need to win you the game, right? Like, to your point, like, yeah, if you cast a bunch of Eldrazi Titans off Omniscience, you should win. But like, also, not a lot of decks are just straight up running a lot of Eldrazi Titans. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Like, this just feels like a very fringe win con card for some few decks, and not even every blue deck would run it, even if they could. So,
for sure.
And for that, I'm out.
I do agree overall, though, that it's a pretty low salt, or should be.
I'm gonna guess 87.
I'm gonna pigeonhole Tony. I'm gonna say like 91.
Oof. This is actually 54.
Wow,
really?
To put this in context,
the
how salty
who answer this survey,
this is making people. It is 2 below Force of Will.
Which is insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. I mean, I guess we're just not in a meta that runs it, but like I never see Omniscience being played.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I can count in the close to 10 years I've been playing Commander now. I think I can say I've seen it maybe like a handful of times, if that.
I guess what I want to know is how much mana was actually spent to cast it.
Yeah.
Because I think that would give me more perspective. And when I say cast it, I mean like get it out.
I think a lot of the time for zero. I think that's the problem.
How are you getting it out for zero?
I think people are using
like the Get gets it out for zero because you suspend it. And
yeah,
but it's suspended for a couple turns. You like know it's coming. Like...
Narset Enlightened Master, you get it out for zero. Like Joda, you
Narset
can pay Wooburg and play it.
Well, because that was the thing. I was like, most of the effects I think are paying Wooburg or at least 4 mana to get it out.
Right.
And like when you're doing that, I mean, I do broken shit like that too. So like, I like get it. I haven't really run an Omniscience.
It just seems so high
type thing, but I think in general, if as long like when it's zero, that I can see getting like generating a lot of salt. Like when people really are getting it out for free. But you got to consider that's not totally for free because it's like Narset's going to do broken shit anyway.
Totally.
You know? Like it's like that came down for 5. You had to wait a turn.
But I think 10 mana is actually a significantly lower bar than we're considering it too. Because that's Soul Ring. That's Soul Ring and a Signet on turn 7, right?
Yeah, but that's unprotected too, right? Like, I mean, I will say I would be salty if you cast Omniscience, try to do a bunch of stuff and fucking whiff. That would make me mad.
Fair.
You couldn't fucking do it. You fucking scrub.
Yeah.
What are you, Tony? Come on.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for the salty card of the week.
Wow.
Well, thank you, Mike. And thank you, prospectors, for tuning in to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine.
I like how Tony just immediately switched into radio voice.
I know. I had to.
And thank you, folks. Let's tune in next week to the Howling Salt Mine podcast.
If you want more Howling Salt Mine content, you can join us on patreon.com/Howling Salt Mine.
My voice is higher than your voice.
Wait a second. Does Tony actually say it clean when he does the radio voice, though? Is that the secret?
It might be the trope. Like, that's what I need in order to do it right. But yeah, we got a Patreon. We got merch over on our Bonfire store. And we're always looking for more stories. So if you want to reach out to us, you can hit us up at thehowlingsaltmine@gmail.com and send us your salty stories, especially salty confessionals. We love those. I feel like I haven't seen one in a little bit. So
yeah, it's been a minute.
Somebody give me one of those so that I can,
so you can what, Tony? What weird phrase are you going to say in response to that?
I was trying to think of what's kosher.
I know,
enough to say,
and I could see where your brain was going. I can see the gears turning. It's a little scary.
And remember to keep those short, sweet, and to the salt.
Salty.
Another way you can help and support the podcast is to give us a 5-star review on whatever app you are using to listen to us right now. They really help for outreach and help, for more people to get in on the salt. And lastly, got to give a big shout out to our awesome artist, Devin Burnett. He is in Asheville, North Carolina. If you're there, hit him up. Get a tattoo. Just don't get. Well, I mean, I guess you could get the Howling Salt Mine, but
do it.
We're supposed to do that at 10,000 subscribers or bust. So either wait for us or don't. Because if you do it first, then that's awkward and we look like losers.
Super.
But
fan.
anyway, fuck! I was doing so good. I just need to leave, but I don't remember how. Oh, stay salty, folks. And don't forget to draw an additional card during your draw step.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Clap, cut noise thing. Well, welcome back.
Wait, should I?
Oh, you guys, come on.
I hate it.
You already had one episode to figure this shit out.
Yeah, we don't get to do that again. We have to be like a little bit better this time. Otherwise, it's embarrassing.
I was
1%.
ready.
All you got to do is be a little 1% better every day, and you're going to be golden. That's all
the
you got to do.
Kirkland motto. All right, we're this time for real. Well,
Was the
welcome
last
back.
time not for real?
I fucking hate you. I hate you.
Okay, now I'll let you do it. Now you can do
Okay.
it. Okay.
I don't believe
I'm
you
ready.
for a second, but that's
No,
okay.
I'm ready.
Well, welcome back, prospectors, to another episode of Howling Salt Mine, the
It's the Howling
podcast.
Salt Mine.
Fuck.
You fucking piece
You-
of shit. I'll let you do the good
Fuck.
things.
Okay, I'll
You
do
don't
it
even
again
get
then.
Right.
Well, welcome back, prospectors, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine, the podcast where we
turn away from the mic when we fucking speak,
because
so that
I
all
got
the audio can be
interrupted from
trash.
somebody in my apartment this time instead of somebody on the Zoom call.
Well, that's hilarious because we couldn't hear it.
I know you couldn't, but I could. Can I have the space to record, please?
Lols. Oh, get wrecked.
I'm not pretending to be Sam. I'm just doing the lines.
Say the line,
He's
Bart.
trying. He's trying real hard.
And failing.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna do
Once
it for
more
real.
with vigor.
Thank you. I will
I'm gonna reference
use
all the
vigor.
shitty ones you did, so like you have to put it in there somewhere.
No, well, I'll have to edit all the references out then. So let's not say we did. Well, welcome back, everybody, to it's supposed to be prospectors.
All right.
Yeah, I think that was on one of the episodes I did with Sam and Mike while you were playing a cat.
Being a cat.
Everybody wants to be a cat.
Hallelujah.
Everybody's being a cat. Cat pee is made of these.
Rock the cat box. Rock the cat box.
I'd had enough of his bullshit, so I told him he was full of shit. That was, well, I guess all of those were not real, but I read them as curses.
Just do it again.
Sorry.
Are they starred?
Yeah.
We can't swear on the internet, Tony.
For the first game, I used Audric, Lunar.
For
the first
again,
game-
big boy over there, coming in hot with my ability to read. Can't fucking
I'm gonna.
read shit.
I'm embarrassed.